question. So it's when you started, I missed it, but you just go for any, it's basically counter or any weight shift, wherever you can start happening.
My first rule is I want her to like me, meaning I don't want any, so my touch, that approach has to be really good. So what I did starting straight off was I went under the spine and the pelvis and just sort of like, remember we learned the C7-ish hold or whatever, but I just go underneath that SI and but I'm not just holding it. It's not like a Reiki kind of thing. It's more of a, I'm still looking for that shift, like I did with you yesterday when I worked with you when you were acting as same with it. I start to look just even for some kind of semblance of a weight transfer. Because when she knows she has a weight transfer, I don't have to, like this is no weight transfer. The second the body goes into a lift, especially on an immature system, weight transfer is gone. You can't do both. You can't be lift and weight transfer. So the second I did that, but then when Enrique said, can you explain what you're doing with the hand when I had to remove my hand? You know what I mean? So that mechanism just got lost in her system, sort of like pulling a plug on a lamp and then putting it back into it.
Right, but that's what you were looking, initial way how you start when you get someone who is,
right,
you know,
right,
not, spastic, there's no weight transfer, then you're looking for it wherever it can be available.
Right, so if she's here like this, right, I'm stuck. So I came underneath the tush and so even in this, even if I'm initiating it, look at how much more she can get out of her system, that if I'm here, then you're gonna get upper body momentum kind of thing, which is what I don't want. So that's why too, what I did was, not that I was grabbing the leg, but I was just allowing that she didn't have to hold it up there, sort of like a prop, and then the rest was like, and you can tell with the toes, the spasticity went. So towards the end, the only thing I was seeing was still just the right hand, but even to hold her face, when I was here towards the end, and that's how I knew the eyes were working so well, because she was like this in me, but not where I had to either hold her up or she was pushing down against my hand. Then all of a sudden she was like, so I was just there to guide all of that. But then all of a sudden, which I've never done before, but I haven't had a room full of people, I just decided to let her go around to all these people, because normally what a 3-year-old would do, a 4-year-old would go walk up to everybody, and because they don't have stranger danger like we do, and just be like, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, hi, how are you? As if she had legs and a body and whatever that could do it on her own. I think cognitively she wanted to greet us all.
I think if you feel like her system was secure, so it's when she'll relax. Like to figure out maybe from her back, you like make a balance or something.
Yeah, but if your eyes are like this.
No, but at first, in the beginning.
Yeah.
In the beginning, when she relaxes, then you start, doing a lot more.
Right.
But when she feels secure, safe, comfortable.
Right, but secure to me, to any system, is when you have balance. Whether it's emotional balance or physical balance. I don't care if you're working with an 80-year-old or a baby. When that balance is present, then I can just respond to the movement, just like you're doing with Ben. But if you were to suddenly get him and throw him off balance, you will see all those and the stress starts showing up in his system, because he doesn't know that he can control his balance. Now, the more and more work we do, you can offset me, tilt this table, and I will counterbalance or counterbalance. The more movement you do, the more you can work within your environment. But when your vocabulary to that is just like this big, you're only going to go to a primitive based system. So yes, but the way I touch her, my approach, again, if this was an ideal lesson, a lot of you wouldn't be here. However, I'm learning more and more with the kids, even though people want to pay for the private lesson and all that. When I have a group environment, as Heather Joy has seen, and Joy and all that sort of stuff, for some reason too with the kids, they're like, oh, you all came to my party, let's do this, and they're like ping in the social, whereas you would think, concentration, let them work on what they need to. I just went off of all the way she was reacting to you guys and took it, but just her sitting there like that even now, where she's just sort of chilling with her face, you know. I mean, she's tired, but she's down, she's,
That's great.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
But to be able to work with this system now versus a system you first got, I'll go with this. Now, I'm not saying she's never going to go back to where she was, because that's what she's used to, but, you know, at least her brain for this moment knows that she can just chill and look around and hang out and check out people. And right now she's looking at the birds or whatever, the trees.
And she's learning.
Well, she's in this space she can learn.
Yeah.
When my eyes are this contracted and whatever, and I'm trying to look at you and fight, it's a whole. No, he saw mom.
Beginning, when you had her pelvis and you were under her spine, why under? I always get locked up with like directionality and go this way with the upper spine, or you know what I mean.
No matter who you touch, just like a carpenter's plumb. So with this system, you know, I would try and find a level, right? But if I go too fast, like we've mentioned, that bubble is going to have more momentum than the blue, right? So when someone is like this, when my first initial touch is almost like my hands are just natural, a carpenter's level, I'm just looking for where the system, where I can get the bubbles to move at least amount of momentum possible. And when I know that, like with her, it was pretty instant. She went from here like this, and then the leg came immediately down when I touched her in the right spot. So that's just going to come with practice on how you work with someone, and because their system tells you, it's just like, oh, I'm settled now. I took my hands away to explain, and she was just back here. Now, I know it is very tempting to want to correct the head, but look what I did to Joy yesterday, just by touching her ear, saying this would be straight. Just that little bit, she's like, what the heck? So I would have to work too long on her nervous system to say, Joy, this is where you're supposed to be, and let me work all the way around it. So she would leave, I think, way more discombobulated, because all she's learning is what I'm doing is wrong. I don't know how to get to right, and I don't know what the lesson was. So I'd rather go from wrong, like even when she was in my arms and I was just working on the jaw movements. Now I get it, her head was down, but what I was giving her, because even when I walk, or you see a kid learn to walk, the jaws respond with the counter. Now, you and I don't do it as obvious anymore because we've learned to control, and people that have too much head momentum, they're either on drugs or they're unstable. So, but what happened, the difference is, there's a difference between this, right, where she's doing, when all of a sudden the lips relapse, and then when all of a sudden the eyes come in. When the eyes come in, that's a total different lesson. And see how I twist the jaw and twist the jaw versus this. You know, she's not used to that, just the jaw being a coming over the system. And then with that, all of a sudden she's like, my head's getting stable. I can start controlling this. But she can't control the head when she's like this, because look at what the jaw's doing to that, right? But all of a sudden this, and that's why I was like, ooh, let's go look at people, because she was like, you know, maybe right away she didn't find Claudia or whatever, and then all of a sudden was like, oh, and then she was learning how to stabilize the eyes around that, you know. So some people did come from underneath, some people came from, because she was offering a foot, and then it was like, it took her a bit to learn how to actually learn how to bring her eyes to see her foot and then see who was touching her. But that alone is a huge, how do you teach that purposely to somebody? It's huge. So when I was in with the pelvis and stuff, it all depends on which part it was on. But when I was doing more of that abdomen work, then yes, I was into the system, but very, very gently. And again, very similar to the working with the jaw. It's the same thing that I can do with the pubic bone, going over, but also to twist and to twist. I can't do this with you guys, but you could do it yourselves if you wanted to. But there's a difference between coming up over that pubic bone, then also coming down to that pubic bone and over it that way like it's a teeter-totter. So to come up and over, right? Versus coming down and around and down and around. And that's going to be the beginning of our floor lesson today, is start to learn how to come down and around and then up and over. I don't know, can anybody see that with my, I can feel it, I don't know if it's as obvious to see.
Actually, the question, when she was, because I couldn't figure out what were you doing. And I actually have a child just now that is tricky.
Yeah.
And uncomfortable in any position, except sitting on my lap. So seeing how you did sitting on your lap was very good. I gave me lots of ideas. So she was somehow here.
Right.
And you were somewhere doing something. So when you're here, because she was, remember, she was kind of wanted to be on the belly, and you were just
All I'm doing
the,
here, I hold, and then just this.
oh, like teaching her how to come down.
Now I'm not letting go. And again, I teeter on my feet. Once I know that they've got this game, meaning she's not stressed out, look at how much more now the pelvis is moving. Then at that point, when I know, I can just go a little bit more to the elbow. And then back down like that. Now look at the difference.
Later she was then
Right.
and you were coming up.
Right. And now when I do that, excuse me, then I can do that. And then feel, again, can she handle my release? And then possibly have the head control. So it's sort of like a flower starting to open, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so basically here, it wasn't the focus of, and then I
This
think
I
you
can,
mentioned
if I wanted to, I could bring you to my lap or then come back down. You see how she's much more prepared to transfer and start learning those moves. But that's where I was talking about the teeter-totter and the spinal fluid.
and her learning how to come down.
Right.
Versus trying
Right.
to, because there's no way you can come up with your head if you don't come down.
Right. Does that help?
Mhm.